In my last life, my wife Sophia Hayes told me she wanted a divorce because the one that got away was coming back to the States. She offered me $10 million as a settlement. I refused, so she had me thrown out of the family mansion, tossed the divorce papers in my face, and threatened my parents' and sister's jobs to make me sign. She even hired thugs to break both my legs. I signed the papers, walking away with nothing. I watched her and him get together. Then someone threw me into the Puget Sound to drown. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the exact day she first asked for the divorce. "Caleb, let's get a divorce. Ryan is flying in from London." We were in the sprawling living room of her penthouse. I watched as Sophia slid a signed set of divorce papers across the marble coffee table, a faint, confident smile on her lips. "I'll give you $10 million. It's more than enough for you to live comfortably for the rest of your life." This time, with tears welling in my eyes, I signed my name. Then I pushed a cashier's check back toward her, my mind screaming with thoughts she couldn't hear. God, just sign it already. I don't want to spend another second in this place. Sophia's hand paused, her eyes darting around the room as if searching for a hidden speaker. Finding nothing, she moved to sign the check, but my voice echoed in her head again. "What are you looking at? Stop wasting my time. I have a new life to start and maybe 10 supermodels to meet. $6 million goes straight into a high-yield savings account. $1 million each for my parents and my sister. That leaves $2 million for extracurriculars." There were only two of us in the room and my lips hadn't moved. She must have realized she was hearing my actual thoughts. But wasn't I supposed to be her pathetic, devoted lapdog? Why the sudden change? Or did I know something she didn't? Something that made me desperate to get away from her. Suddenly, Sophia spoke, cutting through my internal monologue as if she was afraid of what she might hear next. "Give me all 3 copies of the agreement." I stared at her, confused. The check wasn't in my hand yet. Reluctantly, I pushed the signed papers toward her. This wasn't the first time she'd tried to divorce me. She brought it up 5 years ago, but her old flame Ryan bailed on his trip home. We'd gotten as far as the paperwork then, too, but I'd refused to sign. After that, she grew even colder. 3 years ago, she told me Ryan was coming back for sure. The same scene played out. This time, my refusal got me kicked out of the master bedroom and onto the couch. I was naive enough to think she was just angry with me. For the next 2 years, I lived in the guest room. This was the 3rd time. Even the boy who cried wolf only got 3 chances. And here Sophia was, ready to fall into the same trap for the 3rd time. I was tired. So tired. If it weren't for the $10 million buyout, I would have been long gone. But this time, when I'd actually agreed, she was the one hesitating. I decided to test the waters. "So, when should we go to the courthouse to file?" "There's a 30-day waiting period, you know." Sophia looked me up and down with a clinical searching gaze. Seeing nothing out of the ordinary, she answered, her voice dripping with ice. "If you're that eager to get divorced, I don't mind making sure you walk away without a dime." Before I could reply, her phone rang. I watched her snatch it up, her voice instantly melting into a soft, gentle tone. "Ryan, you're landing in an hour. I'm leaving for the airport right now. I'll meet you at baggage claim." Of course. In Sophia's world, Ryan always came first. She glanced at my calm expression, a sneer twisting her lips. "Don't play these pathetic mind games with me, Caleb. You will never be half the man he is. Now, come with me to the airport. It's time you understood just how big the gap between you two really is." I looked at her triumphant expression, biting the inside of my cheek until I tasted blood. Tears of humiliation prickled my eyes. I never imagined I could be so worthless to her. I nodded, but my mind was already spinning. Fine by me. The sooner those two get back together, the sooner I get my $10 million and disappear. Time to leave this toxic nightmare behind. My future awaits, and it's filled with possibilities. Hearing my thoughts, Sophia's eyes flashed with surprise, quickly followed by a surge of anger. "You do well to remember your place," she snapped, glaring at me before grabbing the divorce papers and striding into the master bedroom, slamming the door behind her. I knew she kept us safe in there. She was probably locking the agreements away, afraid I'd steal them back. I went to the guest room and changed into a drab gray sweatsuit, making myself look as plain and unassuming as possible. I met Sophia 6 years ago. Her perfect Ryan had just dumped her to move abroad. I was working as a bike courier, making a late-night delivery when I found her passed out on a park bench. Out of civic duty, I guess I took her home. One thing led to another. The next day, she showed up in my tiny apartment, dragged me to the courthouse, and we got married. Her parents were furious, but Sophia shut them down completely. For the first year, she tried to play the part of a wife. She even got my parents stable jobs and helped my sister with her tuition. We never slept together, but she did everything else a wife was supposed to do. I was content. I thought if I worked hard enough, I could earn her respect, or at least her parents' approval. Then, a year in, I overheard her on the phone with Ryan. He was supposed to come home in a month. He never showed. Sophia blamed me. She handed me divorce papers and offered me $5 million to disappear. But I was hopelessly in love back then. My family begged me to take the deal, but I was convinced my love could bridge the chasm between our worlds. I refused to sign. Her attitude toward me soured instantly. My very presence seemed to disgust her. 3 years ago, she got another call. Ryan was coming back. She asked for a divorce again. I refused again and again. Ryan stood her up. She decided I was the jinx, the sole reason for her misfortune, and banished me from our bedroom. We've been living as strangers in the same house ever since. I was her errand boy, and I, like a fool, kept waiting for her to see me again. But this time I knew. This time Ryan was really coming home. On the drive to Seattle, Tacoma, Sophia kept trying to start a conversation, but I just stared out the window, my face a cold mask. I cultivated the tense silence. In my past life, I spent 6 years trying to melt her frozen heart, only to learn it was made of solid granite. Every ounce of effort I gave was returned with pain. She used my family to control me, hired people to hurt me, left me with nothing, stood by and watched as I was murdered. The memory was a knife twisting in my gut. Sophia, if I could do it all over again, I would have left you on that damn bench. Her hands jerked on the steering wheel. The car swerved violently. A car behind us honked and swerved to avoid us, the driver shouting curses before speeding away, catching a glimpse of the expensive car and deciding it wasn't worth the fight. Sophia, God, I've missed you. Ryan's voice was full of unbridled joy as he pulled her into a tight embrace right there in the arrivals hall. They clung to each other, looking for all the world like the perfect couple. Unlike last time, I just stood back, watching with detached indifference. I timed them. They held on for nearly 3 minutes. Finally, Ryan looked over at me. You must be Caleb. I suppressed a sneer. Ryan, man, good to meet you. I'm Caleb, Sophia's soon-to-be ex-husband, I said, extending a hand he barely shook. You two haven't seen each other in years. I'm sure you have a lot to catch up on. Then I turned to Sophia. Hey, Soft, my buddy Jay just texted. You need a hand with something. I'm going to grab an Uber. You guys take your time. Yeah, you two psychos can ride off into the sunset. Just don't inflict yourselves on anyone else. I started to walk away to give them their space. You think this little act of magnanimity is cute? Try to get my attention. The word psychos must have echoed in her head because her voice was sharp with fury. Caleb, you are a manipulative piece of work. I will divorce you, but not right now. Her words hit me like a physical blow. The pain was real, sharp, and deep. $10 million in my account, and I'd signed those papers this second. Sophia, I'm just being realistic, I said, my voice carefully measured. I'm not in your league. Seeing you with Ryan, I get it now. I see the difference between a guy like him and a guy like me. My words seemed to stun her. Ryan, on the other hand, flashed a smug, fleeting smile and clapped me on the shoulder. Don't sell yourself short, Caleb. There's always room for improvement. Don't waste your breath on him, Sophia snapped, grabbing my arm and practically shoving me into the passenger seat of her Tesla. She turned back to Ryan. I'll drop you off at your hotel first, Ryan. I stared at her completely baffled. I couldn't figure her out. Before, she could barely stand to look at me. If I dropped dead, she probably wouldn't have noticed for a week. On the way into the city, Ryan chattered on about his exciting life in London. I ignored him, trying to solve the puzzle of Sophia's behavior. I could only come to one conclusion. She must have been dropped on her head as a child. The car screeched to a halt on the shoulder of the freeway. Sophia whirled around, her eyes blazing. Get out. Ryan's face showed a flicker of satisfaction, but he put on a show of defending me. Sophia, come on. I'm sure he didn't mean anything by it. Give a guy a break. Her glare was lethal. You don't have to speak for him. He brought this on himself. My face was a mask of confusion, but inside I was ecstatic. Finally done with the charade. Are we just Venmo me the $10 million and I'll be on my way? $10 million. I'll be a bona fide millionaire. I scrambled out of the car without a second's hesitation and watched her speed off into the distance. The first thing I did was call my best friend. Jake, you free? Come pick me up. I'm taking you out tonight. We're hitting the Crimson Lounge. That night, Jake and I showed up at the club ready to celebrate. I wasn't expecting 10 supermodels, but I definitely wasn't expecting the one person I wanted to see least in the world. Jake took one look at her and bolted. I opened my mouth to say something, but no words came out. 10 supermodels, her voice was dangerously low. Caleb, just how desperate are you? She grabbed me by the collar of my shirt and dragged me out of the Crimson Lounge. I squeezed my eyes shut in feigned agony, but inside I was laughing my ass off. You want to talk? I'd basically been a monk for you for 6 years, trying to warm up a goddamn ice sculpture. But you know what? Ice sculptures don't grow flowers. Sophia, I've messed up. I stammered, my face flushing with fake shame. I'm not good enough for you. I'm tainted. We should just get the divorce. Ryan is the one for you. I looked her straight in the eye, my voice laced with guilt and insecurity. She scanned my face, searching for a lie. If she couldn't hear my thoughts, she probably would have driven us straight to a 24-hour notary to finalize things. As my drunken act intensified, I let my head loll to the side, faking unconsciousness. She shoved me into the back seat and drove away. You finally get it, she muttered. In the back, I was hit by a wave of expensive perfume so strong it was sickening. But before I could protest, the alcohol I'd actually consumed dragged me under for real. When I woke up the next morning, I was horrified. I was in the master bedroom. A stunningly beautiful face appeared above me. It was Sophia. My heart hammered against my ribs. I frantically scanned the room for my clothes, desperate to escape. Oh hell no. What did I do? Drunk mistakes. All I could see was a silk robe slung over a chair. I snatched it, wrapped it around myself, and threw back the covers, ready to make a run for it. Click. The sound of a phone camera shutter stopped me dead. I whipped my head around. Sophia was standing there holding her iPhone, a triumphant smirk on her face. I didn't wait for a second look. I bolted, nearly slamming my head into the doorframe in my haste. A soft laugh echoed from behind me, only making me run faster. Back in the safety of the guest room, I slapped myself across the face. Caleb, you idiot. Can't you control yourself for 5 damn minutes? You were so close. You're getting the divorce. You're getting the money. And now you've handed her all the power. As I was berating myself, I heard her voice from outside the door. Get dressed. Come out for breakfast. You're coming to the office with me. I wanted to argue, but what could I say? I mumbled my assent on the way to Hayes Industries. We didn't speak a word about last night. As we walked into the sleek downtown office building, I held the door for her, hearing the whispers of the employees around us. Did you see that? Caleb was with Ms. Hayes. You think maybe last night? They no way. Ms. Hayes has been waiting 6 years for Mr. Hunter. Now that he's back, Caleb's days are numbered. He'll be out on his ass before you know it. I give it 3 months. 1 month tops. Sophia's expression grew colder, but I didn't care. I'd heard variations of this gossip a dozen times. I was numb to it. Just wait. Once I cash that $10 million check, I'm going to stroll by this office every single day in a new sports car. You all look down on me now. Soon, you'll be craning your necks just to get a glimpse. A dark line formed on Sophia's brow, but strangely, I thought I saw a flicker of amusement in her eyes. She sent me to her office, then told her assistant, Jenna, to schedule an emergency executive meeting. To my surprise, I was told to attend. When I walked into the boardroom, it was already full. The only empty seat was the one to Sophia's left at the head of the massive table. 20 pairs of eyes turned to me as I entered. Ryan looked particularly surprised when Sophia gestured for me to sit next to her. The meeting was quick. Ryan Hunter was officially named Executive Vice President and head of the design department. As a special favor from Sophia, I was promoted to team lead in the marketing department. I couldn't have cared less. The only thing that could get my attention right now was a $10 million wire transfer. Everything else was just noise. After all, I'd only taken a marketing job in the first place, a step up from being a courier because it came with health insurance. Sophia had made it clear from the start. Our relationship was a transaction, a show put on for Ryan's benefit to make him jealous enough to come back. It was mutually beneficial, so I hadn't objected. Now, I regretted every second of it. My entire life was in her hands. Just before the meeting ended, Ryan unveiled his grand project, the Lion. A stunning architectural rendering appeared on the main screen. It depicted a series of high-rise residential towers from 12 to 18 stories with a revolutionary feature. Each apartment had a massive cantilevered balcony, a miniature backyard in the sky. You could plant trees, grow a garden, even have a dog run. Mr. Hunter, this design is absolutely brilliant. It's like a private paradise in the sky. It's more than that. If we build this, it'll be the most advanced residential technology in the country. I listened with half an ear, my mind drifting back to the words Ryan had snarled at me just before I died in my past life. What a load of crap. The Lion. What a joke. This is the project that bankrupted Hayes Industries. It never got finished and it dragged the whole family down with it. Sophia shot me a meaningful look, her eyes unreadable. I could tell she was torn. She couldn't bring herself to fully trust Ryan. But the project was undeniably seductive. If it succeeded, it would elevate the Hayes family to a whole new level of wealth and prestige. Suddenly, she turned to me. Caleb, what are your thoughts on this project? I blinked, momentarily caught off guard. I glanced at Ryan, saw the flicker of anxiety on his face, and decided to drop a bomb. I slammed my hand on the table. It's bullshit, I declared. A complete fantasy. If this was such a great idea, don't you think one of the major architectural firms in New York or London would have done it already? Why would we be the first? Go on, Ryan. Argue with me. Defend your precious project. Make her feel sorry for you. Then she'll get rid of me for good. Sophia's head whipped toward Ryan. He shot to his feet, pointing an accusing finger at me. Caleb, you're in marketing. What could you possibly know about architectural engineering? This design has been approved by my professors at Cambridge and vetted by industry experts. We're in the process of patenting the technology right now. He turned to Sophia, his voice filled with righteous indignation. Sophia, don't listen to him. I'll stake my career on this. If this project fails, I'll resign on the spot. Sophia looked at me. I looked at Ryan. The room was silent. Finally, she set the proposal aside. I'll take it under consideration. 3 days later, Sophia gave the Lion project the green light. And then the project proposal was leaked. I was immediately the prime suspect. Caleb, you were the only one who went into the CEO's office during that time frame. It had to be you, a damn Grubhub driver. You probably sold the plans for a quick buck. You better confess or we're calling the cops and having you thrown in jail. Sophia stared at me, her expression a cold, hard mask. Ryan stood beside her, a look of smug satisfaction on his face. My eyes, however, were fixed on her assistant, Jenna. I watched her until she couldn't meet my gaze. Her eyes flitted nervously away. Then I spoke, my voice calm and low. If I had to bet, it was Jenna. She's been a mole for the Hunter family from the beginning, feeding information to Ryan. Their goal was always a hostile takeover of Hayes Industries. Once I get my $10 million, this whole company is going to crumble in Sophia's hands. Tragic, really? Is that so? I said aloud. As I recall, there are 2 other people who have access to the CEO's office. Jenna flinched, a bead of sweat tracing a path down her temple. Mark, another assistant, stepped forward, pointing a finger at me. Ms. Hay, besides Caleb, no one else entered your office during that period. The accusation hung in the air, and the murmurs in the room grew into a chorus of condemnation. Even a saint would lose his temper. I pointed at Jenna, then at Sophia, and what are they? Ghosts. Might as well use this opportunity to vent some of the rage I've been holding in. Mark's face contorted with anger. Are you seriously trying to accuse Jenna and Ms. Hayes? Jenna has been loyal to Ms. Hayes for years. Everyone here knows that. It's obvious it was you, Caleb. Weird things started happening the second you set foot in this company. Sophia's gaze shifted from me to Jenna, then back to Mark. She forced the words out through clenched teeth. Pull the security footage. We'll all review it together. I was speechless. I had been ready to just take the fall, but these people and their vicious accusations were too much. I slumped onto a nearby chair and waited for the drama to unfold. Mark went to get the security tapes. Jenna looked like she was about to have a panic attack, but Ryan gave her a subtle look, a silent command to stay calm. The footage never arrived. Instead, Mark returned holding a copy of the project proposal. He threw it in my face. "Ms. Hayes," he announced, his voice ringing with triumph. "We found this in the drawer of Caleb's desk. The evidence is conclusive. Caleb, what do you have to say for yourself now?" The question echoed from all corners of the room. My face remained a blank mask. I stood up, walked over to Mark, and slapped him hard across the face. "Who the hell do you think you are?" I snarled. "You don't get to touch me. You think I stole it? Fine, call the police." After being reborn, I had zero patience for anyone's crap except for the moment Sophia's. Mark was stunned into silence, cradling his cheek. He never imagined I would dare to hit him. The rest of the room erupted. People closed in around me, ready to pounce. Just then, Ryan stepped forward, playing the peacemaker. He put a hand on my shoulder. "There's no need to call the police. That would be bad for the company's image. And Mark," he said, turning to the assistant. "You should know better than to cross Caleb. Do you have any idea who he is? He's our CEO's husband. Now, apologize to him." I ignored Mark's mumbled, insincere apology. "So, Ryan's reach is this long already? He's even got Mark in his pocket. He must have half the damn company on his payroll by now. My plan is still the best one. Grab the $10 million and run. At this rate, who knows what a guy like Ryan is capable of? He'll probably try to have me killed again." Sophia's brow furrowed. Before, she would have dismissed such thoughts as paranoid fantasies. But watching the scene unfold, she couldn't ignore the possibility that what she was hearing in my head was the truth. If she did, she really could lose the entire company. "This matter is closed," she announced, her voice cutting through the tension. "Everyone back to work. Caleb, you come with me. You have a lot to answer for." The crowd dispersed, grumbling. I followed her out of the conference room and out of the building. She led me to her car. Her expression a complex mixture of anger and confusion. "Caleb," she said, finally looking at me. "Do you really want this divorce so badly?" I didn't answer. "In my last life, you threw me out of your house. You used my family against me. You had my legs broken. You left me to be murdered. What use do I have for a woman like you? After we divorce, you and Ryan can finally be together. It's for the best. We're from different worlds." I said after a long pause, my voice flat. "I'm just a regular guy. I can't keep up with a CEO like you." Sophia was silent for a moment, then let out a bitter, self-deprecating laugh. "But Caleb, we have 6 years of history together. I don't want to just throw that away." I nearly choked. "I know I've been hung up on Ryan all these years," she continued, her voice softened out. "But lately, I've been realizing that you're the one who's right for me." I knew exactly what she meant. She'd spent more time with the real Ryan and was discovering he wasn't the perfect man she'd built up in her head, but this was all wrong. The timeline was messed up. She wasn't supposed to turn on Ryan this soon. "You don't have to explain anything to me," I said coolly. "We've already signed the papers. All that's left is to file them." She could see my resolve. After a long moment of contemplation, she sighed. "Help me with one thing. If you do, I'll agree to the divorce and give you the $10 million. How about it?" This was an offer I couldn't refuse. If it meant finally getting free, I'd do it. I nodded. "Good," she said. "In that case, let's go get some dinner. We can discuss the details there." It had been at least 3 years since we'd had a meal together. Sophia was always working late. I knew she had stomach problems, so I'd learned to cook easy-to-digest meals for her. I would leave the food outside her office door for Jenna to give to her, afraid of angering her by delivering it myself. But in this life, her health wasn't my problem. "All right," I agreed. The second I said it, her phone buzzed. I heard Ryan's name. He was asking her to dinner. Sophia glanced at me, then declined the call without a word to him. I blinked. You know, you could have gone with Ree. Her icy glare cut me off mid-sentence. At the restaurant, a waiter handed us menus. She proceeded to order a dozen different dishes. All of them extravagant seafood platters. I have a severe shellfish allergy. I sat there not touching a single thing. Finally, she seemed to notice. You're allergic to seafood, she said as if just remembering. Why didn't you say anything? I was speechless. I had told her many times. She just never bothered to remember. Leaving the restaurant, my mood was heavy. The favor Sophia wanted was simple yet incredibly dangerous. She wanted me to find proof of Ryan's crimes before I died in my past life. Ryan had gloatingly confessed everything to me. The problem was most of those crimes hadn't happened yet in this timeline. I needed someone to watch him, someone to gather evidence. I understood why she'd come to me. I was a small target. Ryan wouldn't see me as a threat. But who could I trust to do it? Just then, my phone rang. It was my friend Jake. Caleb, you got to get down here. Our buddy Goose won $200,000 on a scratch-off. An idea sparked. Jake, listen to me very carefully, I said, my voice low and serious. You need to keep Goose busy for the next 20 minutes. Whatever you do, get his phone away from him. After hanging up, I turned to Sophia. Can you give me a ride to the Sunset Commercial Center? It's an emergency. She looked surprised, but nodded. Get in. The usual 20-minute drive took less than 15. The moment I got out of the car, a figure sprinted toward me, a glint of metal in his hand. Another man was chasing him, shouting my name. Caleb, stop him. Stop Goose. I reacted on instinct, grabbing the man's arm and twisting the small knife from his grasp. I wrapped my arms around him, pinning him as Jake caught up and helped me restrain him. Goose's eyes were wild and bloodshot. Let me go, he screamed. I'm going to kill that son of a bitch. That scammer. I have nothing left. My house, my job, it's all gone. I looked at Jake, who quickly filled me in. Goose, ecstatic about his winnings, had immediately tried to buy a house with cash. He paid a $50,000 deposit to a man he met online who promised him a deal with the rest due in 3 days. The seller had vanished. Goose, calm down, Jake pleaded. You're not just living for yourself. You have a mother, a wife, and a son to think about. We can help you through this. Caleb and we're your brothers. Goose's frantic energy deflated. His brief spark of hope extinguished. He knew Jake was just trying to make him feel better. He knew we were both just scraping by. I sighed and pulled out the bank card. Sophia had given me the one with the seed money for my favor. It wasn't the $10 million, but it was a start. I handed it to Goose. There's $20,000 in there, I said. If you do this one job for me, it's all yours. But I need to be clear. This is dangerous and it has to be kept completely secret. Goose slapped his chest. Caleb, you're a lifesaver. My family's lifesaver. You name it, I'll do it. 10 jobs, 100 jobs, whatever you need. I didn't hesitate. I told him I needed him to tail Ryan Hunter and find a way to get evidence of any illegal activities. Goose's expression turned serious. He knew Ryan Hunter wasn't just some random guy, but with my foreknowledge to guide him, he quickly agreed. You can count on me, he said, his voice firm. They don't call me the best damn career in Seattle for nothing. Tailing people is my specialty. After getting Goose settled, I turned around and realized Sophia had been waiting the whole time. She got out of the car and walked quickly toward me. Caleb, she said, her voice uncharacteristically gentle. It's handled. Let's go home. I assumed we were going back to the penthouse. Instead, she drove me to the Hayes family estate. I'd only been to her parents' home twice in 6 years. The first time was before our wedding when my parents came to discuss the arrangements. The second was for a post-wedding family gathering where they promptly kicked me out. I hadn't been back since. Sophia, I should probably just go back to the apartment, I said. I was supposed to be taking my $10 million and leaving. I had no desire to face her disapproving parents. She shook her head, her grip on my hand firm. We'll face them together. Just as I was about to argue, I saw Ryan walking toward us from the main house. He was dressed in an expensive suit, a watch worth more than my car on his wrist. It was a blatant display of wealth, and I knew it was meant for me. I met his gaze with cold indifference. This was the man who had me killed. If I thought I could get away with it, I would have ended him right there. But I knew my limits. Sophia, let's go inside, Ryan said, his voice smooth as silk. Your parents are waiting. He shot me a dismissive glare and reached for Sophia's hand. I instinctively tried to pull my hand away from Sophia's, but her grip was like iron. You're my husband, she whispered fiercely. Stop trying to run away. I looked at Ryan. The hatred in his eyes was unmistakable. He stared at me with pure, unadulterated hatred. Sophia's brow furrowed, but she said nothing. The dinner was an ordeal. My in-laws spent the entire time singing Ryan's praises. I tried to subtly play matchmaker to push Sophia and Ryan together, but every time I did, Sophia cleverly blocked me. It was uncanny. I started to suspect she could actually read my mind. So, Ryan, you're planning on staying in the States for good this time? My mother-in-law cooed, looking at him with the classic adoring gaze of a woman sizing up her future son-in-law. That's wonderful. You and our Sophia will have plenty of time to reconnect. He's the new EVP of the company, dear. My father-in-law added. They'll be seeing plenty of each other. I scoffed internally. Just wait until Ryan has devoured every last asset of Hayes Industries. Let's see if you're still smiling then. Serves you right for being such judgmental snobs, I muttered under my breath. A sharp pain shot through my thigh. Sophia had kicked me under the table. She turned to me with a fierce glare and started piling food onto my plate. After dinner, Ryan, looking utterly confident, offered to drive Sophia home. I saw the triumphant look in his eyes. I knew her parents had arranged this dinner specifically to push them together. For years, Sophia had made her lingering feelings for Ryan painfully obvious, just as she'd made her disgust for me clear. They saw this as the perfect opportunity to orchestrate a merger of families and fortunes. But this time, Sophia refused. She stood up, still holding my hand. Actually, my husband and I will be staying here tonight. Sophia, don't be ridiculous, her mother snapped. Her father chimed in. This young man may have helped you once, but you've more than repaid that debt by marrying him all these years. Exactly. Can't you see, Ryan still has feelings for you? This is the chance you'd been waiting for. I just stood there watching the show, my mind focused on how to get my $10 million and get out. But Sophia's next words completely blew my world apart. Mom, Dad, she said, her voice clear and steady. I'm pregnant. What? Her mother shrieked. But I thought you two were sleeping in separate rooms. Her father, livid, turned his rage on me. I opened my mouth to explain, to tell them it was a lie. But Sophia shot me a look that screamed $10 million, and I snapped my mouth shut. Finally, faced with this new reality, her parents conceded. For the first time ever, they invited me to stay the night in their home. Later that night, Sophia came to my guest room, but I flatly refused her advances. A month later, the Alliant project officially launched. And just as I knew he would, Ryan made his move. The evidence Goose gathered was damning. Ryan was having secret meetings with rival banks, and worse, with the Miller family, their biggest corporate competitor. Sophia finally saw the full picture, but it was too late. Ryan had already locked the company into a series of unbreakable contracts, and the finance manager, another one of Ryan's moles, had already wired away most of their liquid capital. If they broke the contracts now, the company's cash flow would be completely severed. I hadn't even realized Ryan's treachery ran that deep. Just as Sophia was desperately trying to find a way out, Ryan walked into her office. He was flanked by Jenna and Mark. Sophia, I know you've been investigating me, he said with a smug grin. But it doesn't matter. Your cash flow is gone. The banks won't give you another loan. You have only one option left. Turn the company over to me. Otherwise, it won't just be you who suffers. You won't be able to protect your parents or even precious Caleb. Sophia shook her head, her gaze falling on her two assistants. I can't believe you two would betray me. I trusted you. I saw so much potential in you. Is this how you repay me? Jenna looked away, a flicker of guilt in her eyes, but Mark grabbed her hand. Is it, Miss? He sneered. I despise hypocrites like you. You talk about our potential, but what about our lives? Remember when you were heartbroken and you made a rule that no one in the office could date? That if they did, both would be fired. Jenna and I were engaged then. You held our lives hostage for 6 years. Listening to their soap opera romance for the next room, I almost felt sorry for them, but they had clearly chosen their high-paying jobs over their principles. In the end, it was their choice. Sophia was wrong. Of course, you can't impose your misery on others. Just as Ryan was about to deliver his final ultimatum, the office doors burst open. Sophia's father stood there flanked by police officers. They surrounded Ryan and the two assistants. "Ryan Hunter," he said, his voice like steel. "You thought you had outsmarted everyone, but you walked right into my trap. I just had to give you enough rope to hang yourself to root out all the vermin in my company at once. Corporate espionage, kidnapping, and that little matter of a sexual assault charge from your time in London. I think you'll be spending the rest of your life in prison." Jenna and Mark fell to their knees, begging for mercy. Sophia didn't give them the chance to speak. "You wanted to be star-crossed lovers. You could do it in a federal penitentiary." As the police led them away, Sophia looked around for me, but I was gone. She started calling my phone, a frantic edge to her voice, but I had vanished. Then a thought seemed to strike her and she ran from the office. Back at the penthouse, all my things were gone. Even our wedding photo on the wall was torn in half. My side ripped away. She searched the apartment frantically, finally ending up in front of the open safe. Inside, only 2 of the 3 copies of the divorce agreement remained. She snatched them out and tore them to shreds. Next, she went to my parents' house and my sister's apartment, but got the same answer. They had no idea where I was. Desperate, she tracked down Jake and Goose. All they gave her was the final signed copy of the divorce agreement. "Caleb said he doesn't want to see you right now," Jake told her. "Not unless you agree to the divorce." Sophia just stood there stunned. She shook her head. "I don't agree. He wouldn't just abandon his family. I don't believe it." When Jake relayed the message to me, I wasn't surprised. I knew that after taking down Ryan, she wouldn't let me go easily, but I couldn't stand to see her. The day I chose to leave was the anniversary of the day I'd been murdered in my past life. I knew Ryan's men did the deed, but I also knew Sophia's actions had led to it. So, even without the $10 million, I could never be with her again. It was a line I couldn't cross in my own soul. A few days later, $10 million appeared in my bank account. I sent $1 million each to my parents and my sister. The rest of the money I took to one of the poorest corners of Appalachia. The village had no paved roads. When it rained, the dirt paths turned into impassable mud pits. Using my money, I bought gravel and stone and led the villagers in building a road, a path to a better future. The area was rich with untapped natural beauty. I started a small tour guide service, posting videos of the pristine landscapes online. Tourists started to trickle in, then pour in. Local inns and restaurants began to open. And then one day, I saw the last person on earth I ever wanted to see again. Sophia came as just another tourist. She didn't seem interested in causing a scene. She didn't say a single word to me all day. But as night fell, she found me. I was about to refuse her invitation for a walk when she handed me an official-looking document. It was a finalized divorce certificate. I fell silent and walked with her down a quiet tree-lined path. The streetlights cast our shadows long on the pavement. My stomach rumbled and she heard it. She took my hand and led me to a small hot pot restaurant. I watched as she ordered all my favorite things. I didn't understand what she was doing, but I ate my fill. I had decided in this new life that I wouldn't neglect myself, especially not my stomach. She had ordered too much food, and I ate a little of everything. Sophia, to my surprise, didn't seem to mind digging in with the same gusto. For a moment, it reminded me of the old days, sharing cheap meals with Jake and Goose after a long day of work, eating and drinking like there was no tomorrow. Seeing her devour the spicy food, I instinctively reached out to stop her. "You have to be careful," I said before I could stop myself. "Your stomach can't handle this." A faint smile touched her lips and I thought I heard a soft laugh. "What's this? We're divorced and you're still worried about me. Who's worried about you? I just don't want the famous CEO of Hayes Industries getting sick in my town and disrupting my business tomorrow." "Is that so?" she said, her eyes twinkling. "Well, even though we're divorced, you still have a responsibility to me. Or to be more precise, you have a responsibility to the baby in my belly." Her words stunned me. My face went crimson. I wanted to run, but my feet were rooted to the spot. "Caleb, I can vouch for her." "What? What she's saying is true. I can prove it, too." Two familiar voices called out. I turned to see Jake and Goose standing there. Behind them were my parents and my sister. My face went cold. Was this her new strategy? Using my family to pressure me? Sophia, I said, my voice hard. If the child is mine, I'll raise it. But we can never be together. Her face fell. She could hear my thoughts. So she knew. She knew I had been reborn. She understood that after everything she'd done in our past life, I couldn't forgive her. Just then, her parents walked into the restaurant. They simply looked at us, sighed, and said nothing. 8 months later, our children were born. Twins, a boy and a girl. Sophia effectively handed them over to me to raise, using her parental duties as an excuse to visit constantly. I ignored her completely. One day, she was mumbling to herself, though she knew I could hear her. Caleb, I was wrong. I know you remember everything. But why can't you just give me one more chance? Please, Caleb, just one more chance to make it right. Forgive me, please. I took a deep breath, walked over to her, and looked her in the eye. How do you know about that? I asked quietly. You think being reborn is like winning a lottery? If I just forgive you like that, it makes a mockery of the whole thing. I saw the hope flicker and die in her eyes. But I continued, I will give you one chance. You wasted 6 years of my life. You can earn my forgiveness by giving me 10 years of freedom. A brilliant, radiant smile bloomed on Sophia's face. For the next several decades, she was very, very good to our children. But I kept my distance. I couldn't forget the past, no matter how much I wanted to. Sophia tried everything to get closer to me, but I remained cold and distant. She would bring the kids to visit me, and I would spend time with them, but I always made sure to leave before she could corner me alone. Years passed, and the children grew up. They were smart, kind, and had a deep bond with both of us. Sophia had truly changed. She became a successful businesswoman, but she never forgot about me. She would send me messages, call me, and even show up at my doorstep, but I always turned her away. One day, I received a letter from her. It was handwritten, and it read, Caleb, I know you still hate me. I understand why. But I want you to know that I've spent every day since our divorce trying to make amends. I've given you space, but I can't stay away any longer. I miss you. I miss us. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I hope you can find it in your heart to let me be a part of your life again. Love. Sophia. I stared at the letter for a long time. I had buried my feelings so deep, but seeing her handwriting brought everything back. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I decided to meet her. We met at a small cafe, just the two of us. She looked the same, but there was a sadness in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Caleb, she said softly. I'm so sorry for everything. I was foolish and selfish. I wish I could go back and change it all. I looked at her, feeling a mix of anger and sorrow. I can't change the past, Sophia. But I can't pretend like it never happened either. She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. I know. And I don't expect you to. I just want you to know that I've changed. I'm not the same person I was. We talked for hours, about the children, about our lives, and about the past. It was hard, but it felt like a weight was lifting off my shoulders. In the end, I didn't forgive her, not completely. But I did start to let her back into my life, bit by bit. We became friends again, and eventually, something more. It took time and it was never easy, but we both knew it was worth it. We had a second chance, and we weren't going to waste it. And as for the children, they were the light of our lives. They brought us together, and they gave us a reason to move forward. We were a family again, and nothing could ever change that.